I've just seen a comment on a video that somebody has posted regarding the proposed changes to the benefits and PIP. The comment was from somebody with a Reform UK logo as their profile picture. And it said something along the lines of, "Get stammer out," and then it had an angry face emoji. So they weren't happy with these proposals, and they appeared to be backing the over 100 Labour MPs that are now apparently rebelling against these cuts, and they might not be voting for them when the bill goes to Parliament. So it just made me wonder about people like that, because quite clearly this person doesn't realise that the Reform UK MPs all support the bill. So it's quite funny, really, in a way, but also not funny, because she clearly doesn't support these changes, but yet does support reform, and she doesn't realise that there's a contradiction there. And also, if reform did get voted in, they would go further than Labour. It's what they're all about. It's just, I don't know how to describe this, because people are not using their brains. Clearly Reform are very clever because they're appealing to a certain demographic in the country. And you can see that from the voting patterns and where their support lies. It's all in working class areas. Areas which would have been traditional Labour areas in the past. This is where they're picking up a lot of their support. So these people fundamentally are, I hesitate to use the word, but they fundamentally have a socialist leaning, where they're predominantly working class. They believe that we should be protecting the most vulnerable in society. And yet, they're now supporting the Reform Party, Reform UK, because I think what's appealing to them is Reform making their main priority or talking points about the votes and immigration. And, I can say I have sympathy with that, because it is a problem. It's a problem having 1,000 undocumented young men a week pouring into the country and being whisked from the beaches to hotels, handed a phone and new clothes when they get here. This is an issue, and in my mind it shouldn't be happening. We should have proper checks on these people. There's lots of other countries that don't tolerate people entering illegally, and yet we not only tolerate it, they seem to be rewarded for it. And then yesterday there was a news story in one of the tabloids. It's something that I've known about for a long time, and probably a lot of people watching this will have known about it. But it's about all of these illegal people working for the delivery companies like Uber Eats, Just Eat, Deliveroo. They're not supposed to be working when they're here, and yet they're all supposedly making up to £1,000 a week. You can take that with a pinch of salt. I don't know what the figures are, but this was probably just a headline number that the tabloid had made up. But regardless of that, they're earning money here when they shouldn't be. They've just come into it's not really the black economy, because these are legitimate jobs that they've got for some reason. I'm not quite sure how they've managed it, how they managed to be registered on these apps. They can't be using their own details. But anyway, that's a digressing a bit. So, but yeah, I've got sympathy because these things shouldn't be happening. We shouldn't be having all of these people in the country. And this is where Reform are picking up the support from normal working class people like me. But what I don't think they're realising is Reform will be worse than what the Tories were, worse than what this Labour government is in terms of supporting your normal people. Because they believe that the benefit system is overloaded as it is and that it should be cut. So I'm not saying there aren't people out there that are manipulating the system, because there will be. Very few of them will be manipulating the PIP system because it's so hard to get into that, and even genuine people can't get PIP. But in general terms, the benefit system in this country has been manipulated. And I also see a lot of comments about how many people that are receiving the benefits, why the benefits bill is so big, because a lot of that is going to the foreigners that have come in here. So again, that's a theme that seems to be there. Now, whether you agree with immigration or not, that's something that a lot of people are picking up on and they're feeling vulnerable about. So that's where Reform are picking up the votes and their support for. And yet, none of these people are investigating the other things that Reform stand for. So if they were to get into power, who knows what's around the corner whenever the next election comes up, but if they were to get into power, what would the country look like then? What would happen to people like me? And it's currently daytime, and as you can see, I'm in my bed, where I am quite often because of the nature of my illness. What would happen to people that are worse than this? Reform doesn't care about them. They care about people like us less than the Labour Party and less than the Tories. So it's just a bit ironic, really, when you see all these people in the comments supporting this. You know what I mean? I'm pleased that the people out there are supporting the fact that these cuts shouldn't be happening. Disabled people and chronically ill people shouldn't be the scapegoats for this so-called black hole that the government seems to have invented again. This time it's a 5 billion black hole. You know, that we shouldn't be the target of this. We shouldn't be the ones that are funding this. A decent society should be helping people in that position, not demonising them and trying to take away whatever little that they have. So I would say to anybody considering voting Reform at any point in the future, look past the immigration. You know, you might well agree with that part of their policy, but do a bit of critical thinking. Have a look at what they actually stand for in all the other aspects, and then decide if it's a party that you're willing to put their logo as your profile picture.